Ladies and gentlemen, live on air at the Oppenheimer Ranch Project, we have the myth, the man, the legend, Paul Cottrell, the Freemason himself, the snowflake that is sick and tired of the anti-Semitism on YouTube, the one and only Paul Cottrell. Paul, how you doing? How you holding up?
I'm holding up. Thank you for having me, Diamond.
Well, first, I just want to say that the way that we deal with hatred on our channel, and we have tons of it, from the climate extremists, etc., is we block them. And we have 10,000 plus people blocked because there's so much hatred and vitriol in this world. The reason that truthers like you and I have channels is to try to spread love and knowledge. Now, I do it in a little quirky way where I can tend to be a little bit off the cuff, maybe a little crass, but it's your channel, so you can block these people. Now, specifically, we're talking about Demon Hunter, and he did a terrible cut piece on you. Do you want to say anything about it so that people can go check him out or maybe report the channel?
Well, yeah. I mean, there was a video that was taking pictures of my brother's. I have pictures on Flickr as just a diary, and he went on my Flickr account and took those pictures and put it in his video of my brother's funeral. And the prayer ceremonies that we had in the morning during for sitting Shiva for the 8 days at my brother's house and my brother Joel's house, the surviving twin. And I was absolutely shocked. And he's pointing out the tefillin that we wear on the head and on the arm, saying that it's some mystical box, and that the mystical box is very similar in geometric shape as ground zero. And there must be some sort of deep, sinister Jewish connection between ground zero and the box on our heads, and that we must be part of the Illuminati and all this crap.
Well,
So it wears on you because the reason why it wears on you is that when you're Jewish, you hear it from the day you're born until the day you die, and you get fed up with it. And and I just thought that it was just unacceptable. But people should go and see his video, and he makes all these assumptions about certain numbers, like the Harvard hat I wear. Harvard was started in 1636. So he assumes that the 36 is 666. Well, I mean, anyone that's a football player that's wearing jersey 36 is also a 666 too. I mean, come on. I mean, it's so weird. And then I have a little statue on my bookshelf. I call him African Man because we bought it at the DIA, the Detroit Institute of Arts. Right after an exhibit that was focused on African art. This was made 25 years ago, and he said in his video that this must be a Nephilim, and that I must be part of some sort of secret order, and all it is just African art. I mean, come on, man, the guy's a nut. Total nut. And the thing is there's so many channels out there that they call them truther channels. They're not truther channels, they're nutcase channels.
Well,
but not only that, just what takes
the guy doesn't have many subscribers. He's not a threat to you, and a lot of his subscribers are going to be subscribed to your channel. There are some people that are sicker than others, and they're doing things for the wrong reasons, which is why no one's watching his channel. So let's get over that. I mean, because we're spending way too much time on it. We don't want to support or promote his channel in any way. If you want to go over there and see the nonsense that's going on, please do. If you think it's inappropriate, report it. That's it. And we'll leave it at that. Doesn't that make that easy?
Well, they should go to my channel. That's true, but they should also go to my channel and see how I debunk his video and all the assumptions that he created.
Yeah, well, we heard your piece.
But
Now let's talk about why we're here, the outbreak. Can you see the current numbers up there?
Yeah.
All right, so this is the maximum I can find coming in from Worldometers, 80,148. We just broke the 80,000 mark. which means every headline in the paper tomorrow is going to say, we just broke the 80,000 mark. And
Right.
and so we're there, like swimwear, and there are photos showing Italy is under lockdown as the country,
And Iran.
becomes Europe's epicenter. Well, there's more to talk about in Iran. I want to talk about that in a minute. The underreporting there and the fact that the death rate is probably not 20%. But more importantly, there was a stock market
Right.
sell-off that I warned everybody about last night on my social media because I was watching the after hours. It was down to 320. By this morning, it was down like 850. And then boom, the market closed today. The Dow down 1,000. S&P down 3.3%. S&P down 3.3. NASDAQ down 3.7. Absolutely a crushing day. Worst day in 2 years. And but after hours trading is showing moderation. There's some buy-ins because there's some good buys. So what are your long-term thoughts on the market and how this unravels, and what's going on with the numbers in Iran? And we'll talk about those after your initial thoughts. Go.
All right. Two days ago, I did a video with one of my viewers called Brother. He's a guy I trust. He's in Canada. And we had a long, I mean, it was like 2-hour video, and we talked in depth about what we thought what will happen in the market. We're going to start seeing a sell-off. I did a video today, even also, explaining the 200-day and the 50-day moving averages for the S&P 500. And we're going to start seeing the staircase. It's going to be these shorter. They're going to short. The shorters are shorting the market, but there's an endpoint where they have to buy the shares, so the market will go back up a little bit. So what will happen is you'll see the staircase. It'll sell off a day or two, and then it'll come back a little bit, but it'll never mean revert to the original point. And what will happen is that 50-day moving average is going to start to curl down, and those traders are trying to force a larger sell-off when the 50-day moving average hits the 200-day moving average. And all those algorithmic traders are just going to, bam, just short the market hard at that point. I think that point, that the cross, what they call the cross of death, will happen in probably, it wouldn't surprise me, in 4 or 5 weeks.
And then the cross of death would be a sell-off down to some hold point that's much lower.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. Right. Right now, the 200-day moving average for the SPY ETF is around 303, and SPY is trading at about 322, I think. You got
funny, Paul?
22.
The SPY is the only stock I hold. And after I sold everything about 7 years ago, kept the spider, and I've gained 10% annually since then. It is the number one ETF. While all my other stocks were tanking, this is the glory hole. What else can you tell us about Spider?
Well, I mean, because it holds 500 stocks. It's well diversified. It's a lot better than holding the Dow. It's a better indicator on how overall stock growth is. Another good one is Russell. Russell 2000, Russell 2.
Do you see Spider decreasing all of its gains over the last decade, like 23% losses potentially, or more?
Well, we could see a 20% sell-off from the high. And my concern here is that if this outbreak is what we predict, and we start seeing the breakdown in society, not just at the medical level, but all these other supply chains start to break down, people are going to start getting laid off. People aren't going to buy. People aren't going to buy even people. I know people are not going to the restaurants in New York. So there are little anecdotal, signs that people are fearful of getting this disease, and they're not buying.
Yeah.
The first thing to go is the restaurants.
Yeah. And today I noticed I'm getting ads from Expedia and Hotels.com. No one's booking hotels. No one is booking cruises.
Right.
No one is booking tours. Booking is done. Booking is good. If you want to take a tour to Egypt, Easter Island, wait a month. Man, it'll probably be free. They'll pay you to go. And this morning, my partner Leah shared on our social media this article, which you can probably see, I hope. Past time to tell the public it will probably go pandemic, and we should all prepare now. And at the same time, the World Health Organization, when I went and looked over at their site, they have removed the word pandemic in their repertoire. They even mentioned that today. We don't call things pandemics anymore. What do you think is going on? Oh, but before you reflect, I went out today with Alien Allen, and we went to prep up before anything hits the fan, and we went out in our small town just to look. So we went to Walmart, and there is a run on the cheap isopropyl alcohol. It was all gone. We had to buy the good stuff. That's what we wanted anyway. But there are no masks. There are no masks in the health department. They're on back order. There are no masks in the hardware section. All gone. No masks. Still gloves of all kinds, thankfully, but there's no masks, and the cheap isopropyl alcohol is gone. So the effects are hitting our tiny town. Go ahead.
Right. Well, if we only have 35 confirmed cases officially by the CDC, which I think it's a lot higher, I think they're hiding, but let's just say we stick with what the confirmed cases that are on the Johns Hopkins database. And we're having this kind of level of a shortage of supplies and panic. Can you imagine when we start seeing 600 or 1,000? And it's the fear in the United States is going to be extreme. And that's why it's not just the virus that we have to worry about. We also have to worry about the psychological panic, the shutdown of different industries, the laying off, the seizing of commercial paper markets. I talked to Greg Allison on his show yesterday, and we were talking about nuclear power. If you can't get if you can't get certain materials, or the individuals are sick that work the plant, these nuclear power plants are could go Chernobyl, literally. Without the proper maintenance and the proper staffing.
The biggest fear in the near term is what's happening, and we can just use Italy as a type example. If you look at all the media accounts coming out of there in the last 24 hours, with a tiny surge up to just a few hundred cases in a day, the markets in northern Italy have been completely bought out. There's no pasta. And so normal people that aren't fearful or scared, just going into the market to buy dinner for the night, there's nothing there. And they're pissed. They're like, what? They're so pissed because of this fear buying, which, by the way, everyone has a right to go buy whatever they want if it's on the shelf, mind you. So I implore you to go out and start preparing some stuff, get some food in your house and some supplies in case this happens. Because in America, we are the most fearful country I know. It is going to be a melee. You know about Black Friday. Can you imagine about Pandemic Monday? Oh, it's going to be a fun day.
It's going to be 5 times the size of Black. Yeah, definitely. I totally agree with you on that. But here's the sad thing. We've been screaming at the top of our lungs to prepare since January. There is no reason for people not to have already prepared 2 or 3 weeks ago. It just makes zero sense.
Okay, and there is good news. If you didn't prepare and you're a sucker or you're lazy, you're likely to get the coronavirus because your immune system is weak. You've been eating too many Cheetos, so you're likely to get this. And there will be tens or hundreds of thousands that get it, and most of them, according to what we know, won't even have a symptom. They're just going to spread it around to other people and kill them. But there is now 3.9% coming out is the current total at the COVID-19 site as the death rate. So we're at 3.9%. Well, here it's 3.4. It's 3.4% currently, which is pretty high. So it's like it's a pot shoot. There's going to be 90 people with no symptoms. There's going to be 8 people with a sniffle and 4 deaths. And so that's like almost worse than, it's like the worst lottery ever for a cold. This is not a common cold because the common cold affects millions of people time and time again, and very few of them die. This is a very bizarre disease. with serious consequences.
Absolutely. And with the chart that you just put up there, you got that zero derivative, at that last data point, first derivative. Think about it. If most of the states do not have test kits for COVID-19 yet, they have not tested for COVID-19. So whoever's coming in to the ER for upper respiratory issues or some other ailment, they're just going to sign it off as, well, maybe you have the flu. Until they test for actually COVID-19, they just don't know. So we have now 53. I thought the last time I saw the data set was 35.
No, this morning when I woke up over at Worldometers, they have 53. And this really pissed my partner Leah off because they have 35 over at the other site. And this is clearly misinformation because what they're now doing is adding cases that from the Princess ship onto the numbers without telling us about these new cases in the media. The media is not talking about this number at Worldometers. And so it's very bizarre what's happening in the manufacture of numbers. Of course, they can't confirm anyone with COVID-19 if they don't have any tests. And all the tests that they did have are deemed, unreliable, so they're not using them. So when are we getting the tests? And this is crazy.
Exactly, but there's a bigger...
Paul, you froze up a little bit. You said there's a bigger... Are you there? Paul?
I'm here.
Okay. You said there's a bigger.
Hey, I'm here. There's a bigger issue that we need to look at. If the CDC is a top-notch organization, which it's questionable, but let's just say it is a top-notch organization, all right, and the NIH, and our country cannot get immune assay test kits to the different states, can you imagine the lack of test kits in the world? So this means that the world pandemic is much worse because they probably don't have adequate test kits. So there's an issue here. This slow spread that we were seeing in the data may have been because of lack of testing.
Yeah, we can't agree enough. And what's really telling to me, if we come down here to the graphic, the world map here. Let me just, I'm trying to, your picture here is in the way of me scrolling down here. And if we come over to Iran, these numbers just don't add up. Now if I hover over Iran, there are 61 confirmed people with the COVID-19. And there are 12 deaths, which brings a 19.7% death rate, which is 6.2 times higher than the actual rate in Wuhan, in that region. So this is showing us the gross lack of confirmation of the actual disease. Iran is not willing to say people have the disease because they do not have the test strips or the kits. But if we were to go back to the original diagnosis, because in China they switched it to pneumonia. If you have this pneumatic symptoms in the lungs and they fill with fluid that's atypical of a normal flu season, then they just go ahead and say you have COVID-19. If we went back to that tactic, I believe that the numbers we're looking at would be insanely higher, in the hundreds of thousands.
Which would dovetail into what we've been hearing from the insurance processors in the United States, where they were saying that upper respiratory and lower respiratory infections, they're processing more of these cases. Now, what's interesting is the lack of cases in Russia. That doesn't make sense to me. I think they're underreporting.
Yeah, and I've thought this for over a week because their southern border here on northern China, this province in the north here has got thousands of cases. You're telling me that people don't go back and forth across this border here? It's 1,000 miles long. So there's clearly
Right.
people that are going to and
Exactly.
from towns to work, and clearly Russia is not reporting the cases. Well, and then let's even go off on a limb here. If there are as many cases exploding in South Korea, 833 in the last 3 days from just a few.
Did
What's what's
you
happening
know the
in
reason
North
why though,
Korea?
right?
What's happening in North Korea? Oh, it's the church. We know about
Well,
the church, but
right,
those
right,
people aren't
right.
going back and forth at the demilitarized zone because workers go back and forth on that border. So what's happening in North Korea?
Yeah, I mean, we don't know. That's the problem. Is there's underreporting, and I will never know what's going on in North Korea. I mean, they're kind of like their own little world, locked out, But they don't have the medical care that we have. I mean, they're way behind. So if they have that in their population, they're probably going to have a very high death rate because they don't have the medical care that the developed nations have.
And nations that have the best antivirals are going to have the best success. And it seems like they're doing an excellent job in South Korea with only one death. And maybe as the cases soar, there's other traditional medicines that they're probably utilizing too. So if you have top medical care, there's a very much lower chance of you dying, which is good
Right.
news.
Right, exactly. Yeah, definitely, because you're catching it early and you have the proper medicine and the proper healthcare professionals. I think there's 2 points here that you've made that are important to expound on. One is that having the right number of pharmaceuticals to fight this disease. The other part is to make sure you have enough staff. And this is a big concern of mine. I'm really concerned of a breakdown in our medical system because our first responders are going to get sick, and once they start getting sick, the actual care we get will start to go down. So like I said on Greg Allen's show, it's like the electricity grid. We're living in the 21st century with electricity, but when the electricity goes out, then you're snapped into the 1700s. Well, when the medical care first responders are sick, you're not going to have the 21st century medicine anymore. You're going to have 17th century medicine.
Well, before we go, let's do some postulation. There are some people out there that are going out on a limb saying that they're going to be canceling international travel soon and so on and so forth. I don't see that happening in the near future because of the underreporting of numbers. Do you think that they are purposely underreporting numbers worldwide to prevent this from happening, to prevent markets from collapsing? Because it's only a matter of time, and we saw what happened this morning. Tomorrow is going to be a very telling day. As we watch what happens in the markets tomorrow and the rest of the week, I agree with you, Paul, about the step down happening. There's going to be sell-offs and buybacks in a step down fashion, and we're going to watch it unfold. So it's imperative that if you don't believe what we're saying, if you watch it happening, to go out and get prepared. I'm already prepared, and I'm sure that you're as prepared as you can be in that tiny closet of an apartment in Manhattan. But you must be scared to death. I'm in the middle of nowhere, and there's only like 2,000 people for 10,000 square miles. So I'm good. And we have supplies. We have
Right.
nutraceuticals. We have the ability to grow our own food. And we have enough food for a very long time here stored. So what are your plans, Paul, if it gets bad in New York?
Well, well, we do have stored food, about 4 weeks worth, and we bought enough, if we get sick to, do the antiviral homeopathic remedy if we can't get to the doctor. If it goes beyond that 4 weeks, then we got a problem. So, but again, I can't store that much. So, but I have thought, we need to start coming up with plan B, and plan B is to get the hell out of Dodge.
Now you mentioned some other quick insider information about maybe some new underreported cases. What were those?
Well, I received some information from a viewer that from KQTV in Kansas City, where there was 3 confirmed COVID-19 cases. I need to confirm if that was tied to the Diamond Princess cases or if they are new. I don't know.
Yeah, and as I said
the way it sounded on the voicemail, it seemed that they were new, but
yeah, so
it just seemed that it seemed that they were new.
The 53 on the Worldometer is not jiving with the other data. I think that those Diamond Princess people that were denied access to either Texas or Alabama the other day, they've been split up and they're now been disseminated around the country in small groups. And those 3 might be part of that group, but we're still looking for a confirmation on what that information is so we can get it verified, because we're all about verifying facts. Facts come first.
Right.
And the facts are that the virus continues to spread worldwide, while the World Health Organization has not declared a pandemic and has removed the word pandemic from its vocabulary. I don't know what the purpose of that is.
See, this is here's the problem, Diamond. Is there is this orchestrated effort, and it's been around for several years now. This politically correct way of looking at problems, or politically correct way of the phraseology. They're afraid to tell the Chinese, you know what?
You froze up at they're afraid to tell the Chinese. Go. Paul?
That the Chinese screwed up. Yeah, I'm here. So, okay, so let me try it again. So the WHO should have told the Chinese that they screwed up, and they should have told the world before it got out of control. But unfortunately, the WHO keeps on kowtowing to the Chinese, and this being politically correct, afraid to hurt the feelings of the Chinese on this particular issue, is only going to endanger the other people's lives in the world. We have to just call it the way it is and stop worrying about the phraseology. It is a pandemic. I mean, we've been watching these numbers for over 4 weeks now, Diamond, and it's getting worse, and it's going all over the world. It's a pandemic by definition.
Paul,
we're in a pandemic.
It's not only getting worse, they're hiding it more, and it's becoming more obvious. And so I'm going to side with the World Health Organization for the first time ever during this pandemic. And I'm going to say that had they announced this early, had China announced the truth early, that people's lives would have been at stake, in the sense that people worldwide would have overreacted and bought the market and brought the markets down. They would have bought all the masks, and people couldn't have even that are running out now wouldn't have the supplies they had. So I'm going to lean in their favor of keeping it quiet in the beginning to try to get a hold of it. But they couldn't get a hold of it, and they didn't get a hold of it. And now the world is suffering from a supply chain nightmare. They probably don't even have enough masks, gloves, and what have you manufactured at this current point for where the outbreak is. So even if they tell the truth now, what would happen? You're going to put at risk, like you said, healthcare workers that don't have the necessary supplies, because a lot of the factories that are manufacturing these medical supplies are in China. And that's bad news.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Definitely right about that.
Oh,
hey.
So Paul, let's close it up, because you just freaked out all the listeners. Paul Cottrell on YouTube, ladies and gentlemen. His links will be below. He has a Tyrannosaurus Rex dog. Final words, Paul. Words of wisdom.
Well, I mean, again, if you're not prepared, it's time to start buying some nutraceuticals, antiviral type homeopathic stuff that we've been talking about on, multiple sessions on Oppenheimer Ranch, and get your food. Don't wait until the very last minute, because you're going to be.
They cut you off, the powers that be. Before we leave, Paul, I'm going to share with you one of our viewers, and several people are talking about this right now. BHT, which is a food preservative related to BHA, which has been long thought to be, carcinogenic and total BS from chemical companies that they just put in the food to make it last forever and not mold. But there's information coming out in this booklet here, A Practical Guide to Resolving Viral Disease. BHT can actually kill this virus. And have you heard anything about this?
No, this is total news to me. No.
Okay, I'm going to send you over this book. We'll do another podcast on it, and I'm going to leave links to everyone listening about it. It's similar to like the silver, colloidal silver, or another cure like that, something that's already around that kills this virus. BHT, look into it. You can buy this at a canning store in a bag for like $10, and you just need small amounts, and it protects you from the virus. I don't know how yet. I did not read the book, but many people have read the book that I trust, and they're sending this information my way. So we're going to look into that. As the virus spreads, the time is now to prepare for what may or may not come. The worst thing that could happen if you prepare now is you have food on hand, nutraceuticals on hand for something else, another eventuality. Something like Greg Allison might warn about, like grid down in the coming times. Paul, it's always a pleasure to have you on the show.
Right.
Get some sleep.
Thank you.
We love you, Paul. Be safe.
Okay. Bye-bye.